Hello everyone. So here is a quick walkthrough of the features currently present on Xpenda. Xpenda is an expense management platform that is aimed at moving companies away from the hassle of managing their expenses in the traditional way. Send emails, wait for email approvals, and all the things that come up with that process. So when you log in to Xpenda, the first part you land on would be your dashboard, and part of the information present on the dashboard are: one, you can see how many expenses are pending for you to approve. That's if you are an approver. You can see expenses that are waiting payment, expenses that are waiting approval in total, awaiting verification, and those that have been paid. You can also see the current approval ratings or timeline ratings for your own units or for your own locations. So for this, you're seeing that this person takes 471 days to make approval, and it takes 25 days after approval has been done before payment is made. So take note that this is a dummy account, and these figures might not really be real, but if it's real, then there's really a problem. All right, so we also have this is a new addition, and we are still training our AI bots to be able to give deep insights into the business and what is the business currently doing. So currently you're seeing that if you click this, you're seeing Actionable Financial Business Insights telling you that the high capital expenditure in Lagos, and telling you that there's a recurring expense called tests that is happening across locations. Also, it's telling you that there's a proportionate spending in K2 compared to head office, saying the amounts are not really tallying, right? So you can also see transactions, your top expenses. Take note, all these are clickable. If you click this, it takes you to all awaiting payments. Click this, it takes to all awaiting approval, and so on. The same thing, if you click this, you get details of your automobile expenses for the period. You also get for bank charges and the rest. So it gives you the top 5 expenses in terms of volume. Then you also get those transactions that are currently awaiting payment. You get those transactions that are awaiting approval. Then you also get your budget performance. You also have the ability to schedule expenses, and those expenses that you schedule, anyone that is due in the next 1 month will pop up here and remain there until after 1 month from the due date. So you can just click on it and then consummate that request. Then you also have a list of recent expenses, and that's basically what you have on the dashboard. If I click on this, for instance, it takes me to my pending expenses, 79 in number. So pending, main recipient Solomon. So there are quite a number of transactions on this. Here are some of those transactions that are pending. So let's get back to the dashboard. So the same thing, you can click on awaiting payments, awaiting approvals, and the same thing, you get to those transactions based on whatever summary you're seeing on the dashboard. To view any of these transactions, just click on this and it takes you to that very transaction for you to actually carry out what you want to do, if it's to make payment or to approve the transaction. Now how do we manage users in Xpenda? Users are managed using roles which are dynamic, so you can create your own roles. So someone could say an accountant here, but in another business it's they are called maybe cashiers, for instance, and those cashiers are given roles. A cashier role is given permissions, and the cashier role is assigned to a user who is actually a cashier, who have the ability, who should have the ability to do such transactions, or such permissions that you have given onto that role. So you can also assign locations to each of the users and departments. So take note, for every transaction that any user is seeing, for example, I'm only seeing transactions assigned to Lagos, head office, K2, Wharf, and I will not be able to see transactions assigned to, let's say, a Festac, for instance. Let's say there's a branch in Festac, or a branch in Imo State. I won't be able to see those transactions because I have not been, even though I have the right to see certain things, I have not been given the right to those transactions, those locations, for instance. So so that's how we manage users. Then for the expense proper, take note, you can manage expenses here. You can also manage imprest. So the difference between expenses and imprest, we'll get to know when I explain how the process flow for expenses work. So for expenses, you just come here, you click on expenses. We might not do transactions, but we'll just show you what how the system is. So you can see different icons here. This is pending, these are verified, these are paid, these are approved, and you can also filter to say I want to see only pending. Once you click that, it will load and you will see only approved transactions. You can see I could say I want to see those that were sent to Solomon, or Solomon was in copy, and you will see those transactions only. So that's how it works. And you can have more filters where you can filter by almost everything: location, beneficiary, verifier, who paid, who approved, who are the recipients, what's the expense category or expense head that's involved in that expense, what's the amount range, what's the date range. So all those you can filter based on any of those. Who was it sent to directly for approval? So you can filter by all those. Now you'll notice that some transactions here I can edit. For some other ones I don't have the ability to edit, because the system is built in a way that you can only edit transactions that were raised by you. So only the person who actually raised that transaction or raised that expense or created that expense will be the ones that can edit it. So if I open this, for instance, so that to view, you double click. So let me go back. You could do to view a transaction, even though I cannot edit this, but I can view it. You can either do details, click this, or you double click anywhere on that line. Alright, so you can see the details of the transaction. So this transaction is already approved and it requires verification. So we filtered for approved, so you just do what? Verify. Or you can, if you are the one who approved, you can actually recall the approval and say no, I'm not approving any longer. Right, that can be done before payment. You can recall approval before payment. Once payment has been made, you cannot recall it. So I can just verify that transaction. Also I could, so we can clear this filter, and then we see all the transactions. I can say, if you see this one now, for instance, that have been approved already, that has been verified already, if I click on it, I will see the add payments option. You would not see the approval option or verify option. Also this one, if I click this, I would see the approve because it's still pending. So that's how dynamic it works. So it depends on this current status. Also, at the time when I'm approving this transaction, so computer and internet expense, let's say it's actually a physical computer that was purchased for this very transaction, and I need this user to provide evidence of the purchase. For instance, provide a picture of the computer you purchased and the receipt after payment has been made. The approver or the verifier or the person paying could just check this button, and when it does that, that transaction will remain pending until the user provides. So there will be a log where you can track those transactions that we do not have evidence of procurement yet, and you can request from the user to provide those evidence before the transaction is actually closed out finally. So that's that. Now for expense, so the difference for Impress, the difference for Impress with Impress management is that the normal process of approving, verifying, and the rest might not take place with Impress. So you've already given that amount of money, and maybe you have an accountant and a manager, or accountant and an officer, admin officer in the office. So the admin officer raises the expense, the accountant makes payments, right? So it might not follow the process of you need to call audit to verify and the rest. Also, you should know that you can also set budgets, and you can also view reports. So for instance, I can view period reports and see performance for different expenses across certain period. I can filter the period I want, show whether I want a weekly report or I want, so this is weekly. You can see this week 48, 49, 50, like that. I can decide and say no, I want monthly reports. I can get that. I can also decide which location I want. Let's say I want head office only. All transactions will be filtered based for head office only. I could also check location reports and compare the spendings for each location based on certain expense categories. So I can do that, and I can filter as well. So there are other features that are upcoming. One of them is, like I mentioned before, is an AI chatbot. So for instance, at the time of approval and I see a transaction, I could get, so you get a prompt telling you, sorry, excuse me, I don't think I clicked that. All right, telling you certain insights on this very transaction. For example, telling you that this transaction has been done too many times and you should be careful with approving it. Telling you that this transaction seems like a duplicate and you've approved something like this month. Telling you that this transaction seems unusual because it's quite higher than what is spent on such transaction at other locations. So you can get those insights here right on the page before you carry out either payment or verification, so that it gives you heads up to be able to say, let me dig further and ask certain questions. So those are some of the things that we're currently working on. Also you should note that whatever you see as the features are not cast in stone. The software is quite very robust and flexible as well, in a way that it is built, tailored for the specific needs of every organization. So that's just a brief walkthrough. With a demo request, we'll be able to dive even deeper into some of the amazing features of Xpenda.